Hey, and welcome to Out of Hiding, a podcast where we focus on growing in God by seeking His truth. Hosted by Dan Morrow and David Flores. I'm very disappointed in the show for not getting it together last week and getting an episode out. So I would like to sincerely apologize on David's behalf.
On Dan's behalf.
Can we speak to management?
No, it just was, last week was a train wreck.
Y'all had a lot going on. Y'all had that women's
Yeah.
retreat,
Yeah.
and everybody was running around, and it was just...
End of school year, everybody's
Yeah.
getting all that done. It's a perfect storm.
Yep.
But I tell you what, we're going to make it up to you guys. We've got Nyla in the house.
Whoop.
So I think it's going to be a great episode. Nyla is special to me now, especially because... What's your last name again?
Morrow.
Oh, wow.
Come on.
Yeah, let's go.
That's awesome.
Very,
Congratulations.
Very,
Thank you. Now you're forced to love me. Accept.
yeah.
You
Well,
will love me. That's right.
That's true.
You will love me.
So tell us about your background, Nyla.
Well, how far back are you wanting to go?
Whatever you're feel free to share.
Okay, well, background-wise, I grew up. I was born and raised in Arlington, Texas, and then we lived in North Richland Hills with my stepdad. My biological dad, he was put in prison when I was 1, so I didn't.
You don't really know him.
Well, he lives here in Canton now.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah, I met him when I was like 22 years old, and he's a good man.
Yeah.
We're not super close, but
What's his name?
his name's Robert.
Robert.
Yeah, he's a good man, but I didn't know him, pretty much growing up. I had my stepdad until I was 9 years old. We moved from North Richland Hills to like Keller, Texas. We moved around a lot. So we went, from Keller, Texas, and then to Forney, Texas, and that's how I ended up out here. But my mom divorced him when I was like 9 years old, 10 years old. And so...
So your mom stayed married to him for 9 years while he was in prison?
No, 9 years to my
your
stepdad.
stepdad.
Oh, stepdad. Okay, I misunderstood. Got you.
No, yeah. Yeah, she
Gotcha.
was married to my stepdad. That's who I thought was my real dad. And he was white, too. So I never saw color. That's, that's my thing. Like,
Oh,
I
so
didn't
you're
know.
better than us.
Yes. I had no idea until I was in the 6th grade. I was in Forney, Texas, and the kids there, they let me know that I was not the same color as them because they gave me like a nickname, Midnight. And I thought that was like a cool thing. I was like, man, these people really, like, I must be like a popular or something. I
They
just
gave
move
you
out
a
here.
nickname.
I
Where'd
got
you
a
go to school in
nickname.
Forney?
I went to Crosby Elementary, and then I went to Forney. I did all the steps to Forney High School. I didn't go to North Forney.
Okay.
Oh.
What year did you graduate?
2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I went to Crosby, too. Shout out Crosby.
Oh, yeah. Crosby is awesome.
You guys stick together.
Oh, yeah. I remember there was...
I feel like numbered in here.
You should.
there was
I didn't go to Crosby.
I didn't
didn't
either.
go
I
to
don't even
Crosby.
want to admit it.
I remember there was this time I was in a classroom. I don't even remember what class I was in, but I was in 6th grade, and the principal came and got me out of the classroom and was like, hey, and they had like these 2 guys that I know really well today, but they were standing against the lockers, and he was like, there's like 5 adults out there, and they're like, are these kids calling you Midnight? Do you like it? And I was like, I guess that's when I realized it was a bad thing, because I was like, oh no, these guys were getting in trouble. And I was like, yeah, we're just friends. They're my friends. It's just a joke, I didn't want them to get in trouble for it.
Do you think they were really malicious, the boys that did it?
I don't know, because I never thought about it that way.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Do you think it was malicious, or do you think the higher-ups heard it, immediately assumed it was malicious,
I think so.
and then made a big deal about it?
I think it was more of that, yeah. Like, they probably were like, that's not right. You shouldn't do that. Because to me, I was just like, oh, what's up? Everybody just said it, so. But there wasn't a lot of black kids in my school at that time either, so. In 6th grade.
Cool.
Yeah.
So then what? After you got out of Forney High, where'd you go?
I graduated high school, and I went to a Christian internship called the Honor Academy. in, where was that? It's like Van, Texas.
Right out here. Yeah,
Garden Valley, Texas. You've heard of
Garden
it?
Valley.
Yeah, with Ron
Is
Lewis.
that Ron Luce?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went there. I was there for a whole year, just dedicated a year of my life to the Lord. I didn't know really what I wanted to do out of high school, but I did know that I wanted to serve the Lord. I just didn't know what that was going to look like for me. And I felt like everybody was like, what do you want to do? What are you going to do? And I don't know if I know I haven't shared everything with you guys, but when I was like 12 or 13 years old, I came home from school. My mom had all of my things in trash bags, and she told me to grab a bag, put it in the car, and we drove to my youth pastor's house, and she started unloading it into one room, and I didn't really know what was going on. And then she told me she had one more bag to get, and then she went out, and she was gone. And I would call
So
her.
she just dumped you off at your
Pretty
youth
much.
pastors.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I, grew up at their house. I remember that whole week, like I didn't leave that back room. I was just so embarrassed,
Sure.
But yeah, that was a really hard season. But through that, trying to, have people ask, what are you going to do? What do you want to, I'm like, I don't even know. I don't even have there was for me, no foundation for family. Like you can always go to your mom's house or, you have that safety net. For me, I was like, I just need to get out of these people's house. I know that because I'm a burden. That was my word for myself. That's what I told my little girl, you're just a burden and you're in everyone's way.
So did you grow up in their house from 12 years old?
From 13, yeah, until I graduated high school.
Okay. Yeah.
Bless your youth pastor.
Thank God for you,
Yeah,
pastors.
golly.
Yeah, they were awesome. Yeah, they helped me a lot. There's a lot that went into it, of course, but
Sure.
they definitely gave me a place, to lay my head and put a roof over my head. And
What
made sure I
church
taken
was this
care of.
at? What was the youth pastor at?
Trinity Family.
Trinity Family. Okay.
Yeah.
Shout out
They're
to a
in
great
Forney?
youth pastor at
Forney,
Trinity
Texas.
Family.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Bobby, the youth pastor, he really taught me what it means to love the Lord, how to serve and love the Lord and just sit with him.
Yeah.
He was a good mentor for that. He really taught me a lot.
Wow.
So your time at Ron Luce's thing, tell me about that. What was that like?
Amazing. For a lot of people, I've heard lots of different stories, but for me, in my mind, anything that I'm doing, I'm right here. I'm not a type of person that's looking for all the other things. I'm just in my own mind in the moment, wherever I am, I'm present. And so for me, it was amazing. I felt like it was definitely what I needed. I spent a lot of time in this little prayer room that they had where I would wake up at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning and grab my blanket and walk down the trails, kind of like at Olaso Ranch where we went. And I'd walk all the way to the prayer room, scared and running, and just sit with the Lord in there. And I spent a lot of time with God, and he showed me a lot of things. I just really grew. That's where I really grew in the depth of my relationship with God. And then also worship. I was there to do the School of Worship. They had the School of Worship there. And I remember when I auditioned at the very beginning of the school year, I didn't have a voice. And I didn't have a voice the whole year. I couldn't talk. I had a hoarse voice the whole time. And
Were you sick or just
no, I just
lost your voice?
Looking back now, I know that it was just a God thing because he, for me, I always thought in the moment when I was there, I'd be like, man, why can't I sing? I can't even sing. I don't have a voice. I didn't have a voice the entire year till I graduated. And for me, it was just the Lord being this is the moment that I have you, and this is where I want you right here. I don't want you on this big, platform. I could have got on the platforms and sang, sure, for the school and was a part of all those things, but I never was able to because I didn't have a voice. And I auditioned without a voice too. And they were like, well, you can't sing, but can you play the piano or any instruments? And I had just been working on Love Came Down. Have you ever heard that song? And the love came down and set me free. Yeah, I was practicing that song, so I was like, I can play the piano. I can't sing, but let me get in here. I want to do this. So I played the piano, and they were like, all right, you're good. And then the next week that we came back, I was listed as a band leader. And I was like, that's weird because I don't even have a voice. They didn't even hear me sing. And then at the end of the school year, I was awarded Band Leader of the Year award for the entire school, like out of all of the bands that were there. So I thought that was really crazy because I didn't sing. I just sat in the prayer room.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What was that? What did you take home from that? Now, looking back, how did that mold maybe where you are today?
I would say it molded me in the way of like God's timing is always perfect, and like what he's producing in me and like growing in me is not necessarily what we want to see. It's, he's always doing something that's so much greater on the inside of us. It's not necessarily like we want to see like the results, you know what I mean? And it put a lot of more patience in me and a lot more understanding that it's not like God's always doing it. He's so much bigger. He hasn't fallen off of his throne. He's in control of it all. And I don't really have to do anything ever for me to get where I'm at.
When you said you were in the prayer room, how did you just feel, was the prayer room where you got to hear from God? Or was it like anywhere you could just hear him? Or was it specifically for you at the time, the prayer room?
It was pretty much anywhere I could hear from the Lord, but for me, I liked the prayer room because it was just this tiny room. It's like that little place that you can just get away to. There was always so much going on, and for me, it was my little spot that I could go. There would be other people in there, maybe, maybe there wasn't. A lot of times there wouldn't be. So for me, it was just like my little time away with the Lord that I could escape. Like always, that's where he gave me like the word beloved. He called me his beloved in the prayer room.
Which is different than burden.
Yeah, which is different than burden.
That's a new identity.
Mm-hmm. It is. Yeah, he gave me some new names.
Mm-hmm.
But for sure, yeah, like the prayer room was just a place where I could sit.
Can you break that down a little bit further? Like maybe you can chime in, you guys, how you actually got to hear, because a lot of people get confused. Like, I don't hear nothing. Like, nobody's speaking to me, Even the questions that we had last couple of weeks, that you're like, I don't hear nothing. And is he tired of my saying prayers? So how do people get to hear from the Lord and know it, like you got to hear and it was validated,
That's waiting. That's all I would say. I had to wait a lot in the prayer room. Like, we always expect, like, we're going to pray this prayer, and Lord, the Lord never answered my prayer or something, and it's just like, well, you have to, like, wait on him, and that's something I learned, too. That's why I would go in the middle of the night, and I would go with no expectation. I just went with a longing, willing heart. Like, I longed for, I still do, but I remember specifically at that time in my life, like, I longed for the Lord. Like, there was a drawing and a deep longing for his presence, and I just wanted to be with him. So there was one night, I was telling Eve about this the other day at Alasa Ranch, where I went to the prayer room in the middle of the night and locked the door behind me because I was scared, and finally made it in there, and I sat down on the ground, and it was about 3 hours of me just sitting there. I was reading my Bible. I was doing nothing but sitting in the middle of the floor, and I was just reading John, and I was just reading, and there was a part about, where Jesus was telling the disciples, like, the Last Supper, and I'm gonna be leaving. And in that moment, like, I felt like I was reading forever, and then all of a sudden I felt like I had the heart that John had for the Lord, and the Lord broke me in that moment. But I would not have gotten that had I not sat and waited on him. Sometimes I would just be in there just singing until I wouldn't necessarily, sometimes you feel like you don't feel the presence of the Lord, but you have to just like wait. And sometimes I'd have to keep repeating the same thing over and over and keep praying the same things over and over until I had that encounter with the Lord. But he always met me where I was at.
Yeah. It's the idea of be still.
Yeah, be still.
Be still and know.
Yeah.
That I am God. Right?
Yeah.
We're so busy.
Yeah.
Life's busy. Right? For any, we find stuff to do.
Yeah.
Keep us busy, keep us occupied, all that kind of stuff. It's in those moments, I think, when I can calm things down, whether it's like sitting on the back porch, driving to church, driving to work, whatever it is. Like just the other day, I felt like I met God in my truck, like, and it was nothing special like going on. It was just like I purposely like took the time to go, God, what are you saying?
Yeah.
and not just have to like, I need you to do this, I need you to do that, but God, what are you speaking? What are you saying? What are you doing? And that 10-minute drive to church, I was like, I just met with God. I just met with God. I love the idea, right? Just be still, because it's hard.
It is.
Like, it sounds easy, but it's hard.
It's really hard, especially like I'm not where I was when I was at the Honor Academy either. Like, I have a daughter, you know, engaged, well, married now, and there's a lot of things going on there. You know, we have church, we got all the things that are going on. Back then it was a lot easier for me too, but even today I still find that time to sit with the Lord, and like, even if it is a 10-minute drive to church, like, being intentional about it, the Lord will literally meet you where you are. You just have to be still enough for you to hear his voice.
Love that. That's good.
So, how did you find Radiant? Tell me about that chapter. And by the way, how long have you been at Radiant now?
3 years, almost 4 years now.
So 2021-ish?
Yeah, 2022. The beginning of 2022.
And I don't think many people know this, but they see you here in Canton every now and again. But you're in Wills Point leading that worship team.
Yes.
Doing all that.
Yeah.
Crushing it. Going for it. Anyway, I just wanted to say that part of it.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to get to that.
Oh, we are?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. But tell me about, I like the origin story.
Yeah.
So tell me the origin story of Radiant.
So I was approached by a friend that had been coming here. And she was like, hey, I found this church. We've been a couple times. The worship is great. And we really think that you're going to like it. Like, you should go. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'll go. And I never came. And then one day I was like, I had just had River. And I was, you know, all by myself in that tiny little duplex in Ben Wheeler, Texas. And I had my little white Nissan Versa. And I had that thing for 2 weeks before it was gone because I didn't have a job, right? The Lord really provided through that season. But I just remember driving, and I would park in the parking lot, and postpartum depression is a real thing. And I remember I would just sit there and I'd be like, all right, this was fun. And I'd drive back home. I did it like 3 times, and I could hear like the worship from the outside, and I was like, man, this church seems awesome. And eventually I finally overcame and went inside, and I don't know, I just kept coming.
What'd you overcome?
Anxiety, fear.
Okay. Yeah, about
being
in it. Yeah.
What were you afraid of?
Of getting out of the car and coming in. Well, I was afraid of a lot of things. Just, you know, I'm new to this area. I was from Forney, you know, and I knew Forney very well. Or I lived in Duncanville for a little bit too. But then I moved, you know, I got pregnant, moved all the way out here to Ben Wheeler, Texas, and didn't know anybody. So I was just all alone, just me and this little newborn baby. So I guess just the fear of people.
Yeah.
So would you say that you embraced that and leaned into God, or did you squirm and struggle with that?
I squirmed and I struggled with it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I struggled with it for a long time. It took me a really long time. I remember one Sunday I was trying to run out with River, and she was in her car seat. She was just a little baby. And Jessie was saying bye to people at the front door, and she was like reaching over people, and she's like, get her attention. And I could see her doing that, and I'm like, lady, stop. I did not know who this crazy lady is. We talk about it all the time.
Wild person.
Yeah, I'm like, who are you? And then finally I looked, and I was like trying to give her the attention, like, what do you want? Stop, you're embarrassing me. All these people are going to look at me. And she just hugged me, and she was like, I love you, and we're so glad to have you here. And I left, and I remember I was like crying when I left and walked to my car. And I got in the car, and I was like, I called my mom, and I was like, I really like this church, and I think I found like a really good church. And I would tell her about it every time I would come here and leave. I'd be like, he preached on this, and like the worship was great. Like, I really think that this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, God really just directed my path here. And then Jessie reached out to me on Facebook a few times, and I would be like, who is this crazy lady?
Is she stalking me
I'm
now?
like, I know who Adam Henderson is. He's the pastor. But who's Jessie Henderson? Yeah. She's, you know, she's crazy. And she just kept calling me out.
Well, I really want to brag on Jessie in that you want to see a gift of Jessie and use that.
Yeah.
That woman is so gifted at that. Like finding that person, being so intentional about loving on them, spreading the love of Jesus. Jessie, you kill it in that. I don't ever brag on you because I'm always like, hey, but I'm bragging on you right now.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, she's
phenomenal.
amazing.
That's woman's gifted.
Yeah, I don't think I would probably be here at the church, but not where I'm at if it wasn't for Jessie, because she called forth the gift that the Lord's given me. You know, she saw that anointing, and we talked about it past weekend too, how I was like, she's crazy, because I posted this tiny video of River. I was with my mom at her boyfriend's house, and River was little and just like banging on the keys, like they had a piano. And in the video, it's like, I just said, Jesus, we love you. Like, that's all I said. And then River just kept banging. She just keeps banging. And that's the video I posted, was for River. And Jessie saw it, and she messaged me, and she was like, you are so anointed. And I was like, I didn't even sing in that thing.
Oh, so I remember because she was like, look at this. Look at this.
Would you look at it?
She showed me the video. Yeah, did you look at it? Show me the video, and I'm like, what?
What am I watching? Yeah.
She's like, do you not look? Listen to her. And I'm like, oh, okay.
The kid's banging on the thing. Who am I listening to here?
Piano? What?
I know. That's a God thing.
Yeah.
That's a God thing for sure.
So let's talk about that. Because the worship team, as you know now, you've been doing this a while.
Mm-hmm.
And like Adam said a while ago, you are the worship leader at the Wills Point campus. So you kind of got catapulted from pretty much not knowing anybody to nothing in a pretty short time to a leadership spot.
Yeah.
And tell me what went on in your mind when all that took place, because I on this side, it's pretty clear. Adam, I had a lot of conversations. Your name just kept getting brought up. You know, this girl is got the heart. She's. What were you thinking during that time? Like, what?
I don't know why this question makes me want to cry. Sorry.
It's okay. It makes me want to cry too.
Yeah,
Like,
I love a good cry.
I do too. I'll cry all day.
He's waiting on it.
Let's
He's
all
like,
cry.
let it rip.
Let's all cry
I
together.
love a good cry.
He's like, I was
I'll
waiting
start
for
crying
this.
with you. It's okay.
Yeah.
I just, I don't know. You know, I'll tell you one thing for me was I'm going to be faithful where I'm called, right? So if I say yes and I give my yes, I'm going to follow through until like I physically can't. Like I'm in the hospital or something. Like I want to follow through on everything that I've given my yes to. Not for any other reason other than like for the Lord. This is the work that I'm doing for the Lord. So he's going to make a way. Mm-hmm. And through my life, his faithfulness has been like, there's no end to his faithfulness. Like I could be going through like the worst thing ever. And I've been for myself, when some other people might not think it was the worst, but, you know, and I have like this assurance and this knowing that he's going to provide and take care of me. So through that, y'all talking about things, I have no idea what y'all are discussing, but for me,
well, Adam is super, super intentional with us on staff here to who are we pouring into? Who is God showing us that it's just standing out. There's something about it. It's the anointing of God is what we're really just looking for. Who is God and just bringing up. Your name just kept getting brought up, and we just kept seeing something with you. But when you first joined the worship team, tell me about your life in that moment. Where were you at? Were you in a secure spot, or were you,
No.
What was life? What was life? Tell us about your life in that moment.
Yeah, it was not secure. I lived in that duplex, which now I know was next to Connor and Jessie, which is crazy. And they probably thought I was weirdo, but I love them today. But yeah, I lived in that duplex. Thank you. I lived in that duplex, and it was just me and River, and I didn't have a car for majority of the time that I lived there. I didn't have a job, but the Lord still, I lived there for almost 2 years. Like that's why I say God has just been faithful in a way that I've never experienced.
So you had
before.
no car.
Mm-hmm.
You're a single mom.
Yeah.
You have no income.
No income.
How on
Ben
earth
Wheeler, Texas.
And
How
Big
on
Like, there's
earth
a lot happening.
did
Not
you
happening.
make it to every worship rehearsal, every practice? How did you do it?
God. I remember I reached out to Jessie and I asked her. She was very intentional about wanting me to be there. Mm-hmm. So I told her like I would love to, but I'm not going to be able to make it that Sunday or for this practice because I don't have a vehicle. And she was like, well, I can pick you up. Like, we're trying to figure things out to make sure that I'm there. And then we ended up getting a truck that was donated to me. I say donated, it was not mine still, but they let me borrow it for that time. And that's how I was able to make it back and forth. So it was just...
So God made a way.
He made a way. And then there's, the different storms that came through that. But like I said, just being faithful in what I was called to do, which was to show up. So that was my main priority, was if I can't do anything this week, if I can't, go do all the things that I'm trying to do, I know that I need to be there for worship is my mindset. Like, I have to be there for practice and I have to be there for worship. And so that's just the mindset that I kept. And then I remember through the season when I got promoted, it's crazy because I had just moved out of the duplex into a house in Mineola, Texas. And, man, there was a lot going on. The house had mold in it. I would just started working at a Mineola Eye Care in Mineola, Texas. And then there was a lot. And I had my mom living with me too. And so all of these things transpired where my mom ended up getting sick, really sick from the mold. So she had to leave. River was really sick. So then we decided we're not going to stay here. We're going to go stay with a friend in Duncanville. This lady, her name's Myra. She's beautiful and I love her. We went and stayed with her for a week. And then that week was Mother's Day week. And so I knew I had to be at church to lead worship. So I came, we led worship. I did worship practice, led worship that week. And then on my way out, it was storming really bad. And we got in a wreck. There was like 4 wrecks in a 4-mile radius. Mm-hmm. So it was like boom, boom, boom. Happened really quick. So then I was out of vehicle and I'd ruined someone else's vehicle that wasn't even mine. So I felt terrible. And I remember all I was thinking was, oh no, I have to lead worship next Sunday and I don't have a vehicle now to get to church. That was like what I was concerned with. So I ended up staying with, y'all know Ashley Summers. Mm-hmm. She came and picked me up from the wreck site, drove me to Duncanville to get the stuff that I had at Myers' house, and then took me back to her house just for that week so that I could make it to worship practice and worship. And then after that, I knew I was off the next Sunday, so I went back to Myers' house. Well, when I went back to Myers' house after that next Sunday, the tornado came through this area and it knocked that house down. But we weren't there. So the Lord's faithfulness is in everything.
You escaped the mold. You escaped the tornado.
The tornado. Mm-hmm.
So during this time, from our side, mm-hmm. what we're seeing is this incredibly faithful, super bright, super energetic, fun-loving woman just showing up every time and bringing a heart of worship. And I want to illustrate that because this worship team thing has become a thing in church, right? And it attracts a certain type of people. And it's so easy to blur those lines. And how easy would it have been to come with such an attitude of almost angst because of the situation? But I never saw that in you. I only saw you come with a true, I want to worship God. We never knew how dire your situations were. You just were so faithful to just come and worship. Tell me about that. Where does that come from?
I've been through a lot. Mm-hmm. So that wasn't the hardest thing for mm-hmm. me. And like I said at the very beginning, God's faithfulness is been proven in my life. So I know that without a shadow of a doubt that whatever I go through, whatever happens in my life, whatever's just happening around me has nothing to do with me or what God is doing through me. He's proven that he's going to be faithful and bring me through whatever storm I'm going through. So it's easier for me because I've been through so much already. I've had to go through certain storms to get to where I am today. So that little storm, which was a big storm. I remember, Jimmy and Donna and all of them all came to help me with the house in Mineola. I had no idea that it was flat. And that was the first time I saw it because it got in the wreck. I hadn't been back to that house. All of our stuff was there. And I remember them just they were so sweet and beautiful. They were just like staring at me like, are you okay? And I was just looking at everything and I was like, oh yeah. No, I was like, I'm perfectly fine. I was like, yep. I'm good. I was like, I'm just really looking to see. In my head, I was just sitting there going, wow, God, like, I haven't cried once. I didn't cry throughout the whole process because I just knew that his faithfulness, like God's hand. I'm just looking at the hand of God right now. Like, we weren't here when the tornado happened and all of this stuff. I don't miss it. I don't even know what was in that house today. I just start over. I've started over so many times, so it wasn't a big deal for me. It's not the end of the world, but it's easy to come and show up with that joy because I just have that from the Lord. That's just what He's given me.
So let's hear Adam's side of it. So your name kept getting brought up, me and Adam and Jesse, and we would talk about, who's that person we're pouring into and all this stuff. What we saw was just, Adam, what did you see in Nyla?
Yeah, I talked about it last night. In the school, saw faithfulness. You know what I'm saying? Like, faithfulness. You talked about that whole story right there. I didn't know a lot of those pieces, Yeah. I know Jesse talked to you a lot, through that time, through that season. But,
oh, yeah.
Man, you got somebody who has the faithfulness like that. And obviously, you were talented. You were gifted, right? God had given you a gift. And you'd honed that gift when you talk about Honors Academy. Just staying in the presence of God, leading a band when you can't sing, all of this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that until you just shared it right there.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea. And Nyla never came, which is another part of this.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
Yeah. Faithfulness, gifted, and somebody who was, you were just humble, You were humble. I think a lot of times people come in who have some of those qualities and they're looking for a spot. It's like, oh, I need to be doing this. I should be doing this, all that kind of stuff. You served on a team for a while and just, did what was asked, did it at a super high level, all of that kind of stuff. When you see somebody like that and you can just feel the call of God on their life, that's what I always felt towards you. I was like, how do we help Nyla discover what God has put into her on a maybe on a little bigger level, like a new platform, that kind of thing, right? That was the whole goal. And I think if I can brag on Radiant Church for a second, it's not about how do we get that person to help us do what we're doing, but how do we pour into that gift so that God gets as much glory from that thing as He can get, whether it's here or there or wherever it is. You know what I'm saying? And you just had that. You had that through all the seasons, the storms that you're rolling through in life. I say a lot on the stage, but I don't say a lot like to people in the hallways and lobbies and all that kind of stuff. But I perceive, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not like watching like who are they, in some judgmental way. But when I saw you, I was like, this is somebody that God has their hand on, and how do we help further that? Like, how do we come in and play our role? All that kind of stuff. And to see, I didn't know it was going to be Will's Point lead, any of that kind of stuff. I was just like, let's let this girl lead a song on Sunday morning. Let's go.
Yeah, so Adam, we're having these discussions, and one of the key things that I never, ever saw in you, still to this day, was any kind of sense of entitlement. Mm-hmm. You cherished the presence of God so much, and you exercised that faith of, I don't care if my house gets blown over. I'm just going to worship God. You truly brought that into the Radiant worship culture. And it was such a beautiful thing to sit back and witness. I know a couple times when we had talks, your eyes got really big. You were like, wait, me? You want me to do what?
Yeah. I was like, I don't even want to stand in the front.
Was it a pursuit night that we had? And you were leading a song or something? And
she led. I think it was when you walk in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the first time we introduced that song?
It was through a pursuit night.
And you led it, maybe, or
I think so.
I can't remember. You were standing on the side of the stage. It was my turn to go up there and open the Bible.
Yeah.
And I really felt like the Lord said, I want you to tell that girl that I see her.
Yeah.
And I have plans for her, And so I did that from the microphone. I could have caught you in the hallway, but I wanted people to know. Because here's the deal about you. You're going to worship Jesus whether you're on the platform or sitting in your living room.
Not. Yeah.
That's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking for. Like, they're not doing it because the camera's on and the lights are shining bright and they got a microphone in their hand.
Yeah.
No. Like, they're doing this because this is who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing I always noticed about you now is you never once asked. You never once asked to be placed. You never asked to lead a song. You never asked to do anything but worship. God made a way for you outside of you.
Yeah.
And that's what I've always admired. Your faith made that happen. Your continuing faithfulness to just spend time with him and to put him first. Amidst all the calamity on earth, you just kept faithful. And my gosh, I just see a lot of fruit in your life. And it's especially to me, I mean, I got a new daughter out of the deal. Yeah. I didn't expect that. Mm-hmm. And that happened really fast. Just the turnaround and the things. Now you got this huge family that just adores you. And you also completed our family. Like, you brought a completeness to it. You made our son just so happy.
Yeah.
Which I'm so thankful for.
I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be a part of it. And the love is real.
It's my turn to brag. No.
Go.
Let's go.
No, I don't really, I'm just here most of the time, but, my family's really enjoyed, watching you on stage. And, I have since I'm on doing media stuff, I get the app to see who's going to play, who's worshiping, and sometimes when Dan's on there, we don't come that Sunday. But when we see you, we look forward to it. So it makes us really, really, really happy and excited when we see that you're going to worship, especially that Pursuit night. After that, we were like, oh my gosh, like, she is so good. So it's been an honor just to listen to you.
Thank you.
I did look this up. Dan, translated in the Greek, means church hurt.
It does. It does. It does.
It's church.
You gotta be careful.
The tribal thing.
I'm as smooth as 16 grit sandpaper.
It's real
That's good.
smooth.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and being so vulnerable and opening up and sharing. There's a lot of things I had no idea.
David, you're missing one question you always ask.
I'm getting to it. Can you give me a second?
Let me ask one question. Or maybe, I don't want to step on your question.
Go ahead. I'll let you this time.
No, I don't want to take your question. I just really feel like to ask, like, Nyla, what are you excited about?
I'm excited to see this church keep growing. I'm excited to see, like, this Sunday, when I got off the stage, I was bawling my eyes out. Like, this Sunday, the Lord said, sit with me. So I just sat down and led the service that way. And I was thinking, wow, this is probably really awkward for people that are just coming. But at the same time, the Lord I couldn't put it in words what I was trying to tell you behind the stage because I was like, so,
yeah, you came. I just got
you're
there.
like, are
and
you
came
okay?
Out crying, and I was like, you good? You good?
Yeah. It's just like we can lead people to a place, right? But like I felt like the Lord was like, show them, like show them that it's okay to worship me. Like, it's okay. Just sit with me. Because otherwise I feel like, I don't know, I just felt like in my heart, like, this is getting really big. And how can we keep it intimate still, I want it to grow. I think it's beautiful, but finding that intimacy and just praying that I'm being that vessel for him. Like, the Lord has me in a place right now where I'm leading worship. Not only am I like paying attention to what the band's doing, staying on key and, playing the guitar at the same time, but also watching what God is doing in the room and also speaking to him and listening to what he has to say to me for what I need to do. So I'm being really intentional about that. I think I'm just really excited in general just to see people grow and fall in love with God and get that deeper understanding of his presence and who he is and that he is, like I said earlier, he's still on the throne, hasn't fallen off of that throne, and he's in control. So we just have to rest.
Yeah, that's good. So you kind of answered both of our questions, but I'll just reiterate it for the listener out there. Just if you can give them one thing, like one hope, like give them something. What can you give them?
Just somebody's.
Let me narrow it down a little bit, because you have a unique spot, right? You're on the platform everywhere. You're singing, got a beautiful voice. You're doing everything. If you see the young lady or young man in the audience, and you know that they're bent that way, what would you tell them?
I would tell them just to be still. Just be still. That's crazy that we're saying that too, because there is a song that I forgot about a long time ago, and he put it on my heart Sunday morning on the way to church, and then after the worship service, I see he's here, and the Lord just said, sing this out. And I never do that. We say, don't, be careful about what you're doing. And like, I just was like, I have to sing this out. I don't know if they're going to follow me or not, but I'm going to sing. I have to sing this out. And it was, be still my heart and know that you are God alone. Mm-hmm. Stop thinking so much. Just let go. Be still my soul and rest. Humbly I confess. In my weakness, your strength is perfect. And I think just to sit and be still in that's probably just my word that the Lord has for me this week.
Love it.
So just be still. He's faithful.
Nyla Morrow.
Yes.
Incredible.
It's a good last name.
It is. It's strong.
It's a strong name.
It's a strong name.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Nyla.
Thanks for having David on your show.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Come again.
Yeah, I will. Thanks.
All right, have a good day, guys.